This is A to Z with Mark Zinno, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it starts now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, where today I ask, you got to figure out why. Welcome in. We are live here on this Tuesday and a jam-packed show for you guys. We have some very, very important statistics to get into with the Georgia Bulldogs. Misleading as they may be, they are important as well. Nobody saw this coming through the first 2 weeks of the NFL season. We'll get to that today, but Braves win again last night, by the way. They take care of business against the Nationals. And Kyle Wright gets his 19th win. Kenley Jansen had a perfect ninth. So, hey, I want everybody to get used to this. Kenley Jansen is going to be the closer throughout the playoffs thing, guys. It's Snitker is going to ride with him. He rode with Will Smith last year. Everybody hated it. He rode with him. They won a World Series. He's going through it again. So we need to put that little nugget in our pocket. But Mets win again last night as well. So still a one-game lead for the Braves. Again, tied in the loss column, so that is important to note. But we have more of the Braves coming up on the show. Give me a follow on Twitter, at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno. Of course, follow our entire Locked On network at Locked On ATL. Let's get into the Atlanta Falcons here. We are now a full day removed from the loss in L.A. Falcons are up in Washington practicing up there. And I feel like it's important to readdress this scenario because I on the surface, I get why people are upset. And on the surface, I should be leading the charge of people who are upset. But you have to sometimes dive deeper than a box score, guys. I mean, this is kind of, the analysis that you need to do so you temper a little bit of what you're thinking to at least something rational. And what I'm talking about here is Kyle Pitts and his targets and his receptions at this point in time. Full disclosure, again, I was somebody in the beginning of the year, before the season started, who screamed about Kyle Pitts' targets and his receptions and how if it didn't happen, it was derelict coaching. So I should be at the front of the line screaming about the fact that Kyle Pitts, through 2 games, has just 10 targets, 4 catches, for 38 yards. That doesn't exactly seem like eye-popping numbers for a guy that's supposed to be the biggest mismatch on the field. And, oh, by the way, a guy who's supposed to be, the best weapon on the offense. Let's understand what has happened through the first 2 games. And then let's take a look at what's going on around the league to see if there is sort of any difference, because I think this is important. I think this is important to understand. First of all, Kyle Pitts as a weapon is the biggest mismatch on the field, possibly the NFL. I agree with that sentiment 100%. So clearly they should be scheming to get him open. Clearly they should be finding ways to get him the ball no matter what. Those things are true. What is also true, and what you're not accounting for in that, is that every defensive coordinator, and the 2 they've played so far, you know what they've said? 8 will not beat us. I don't care about 5. I don't care about 84. I don't care about any other number on the offense. Certainly don't care about 1, that's for sure. Do not let 8 beat you, period. That is the goal. And teams have schemed deliberately to take him away. And that is why we are where we are. Who's the benefactor of that? It's Drake London. That's why he is where he is right now. Folks, you have to understand that, guys who get large target shares, aren't always because they are better than everybody else. If you look around the league, what you realize is that guys who put up huge numbers aren't doing it alone. If you'd like to go take a sample size or a comparison size of what we're looking at here, is CeeDee Lamb, for example. CeeDee Lamb used to have Amari Cooper on the other side of the field. What has CeeDee Lamb done through 2 games so far? 9 targets, 2 catches, 22 yards, no touchdowns. And the Cowboys have a win under their belt. I mean, folks, you have to start looking at the big picture here. I keep telling you that about the Falcons this year. You have to look at the big picture. And if you look what is happening with some of these other high-end tight ends that Kyle Pitts is compared to, the Gronks of the world, the Travis Kelce's, the George Kittles. Well, let's look at those numbers across the league here for a moment and understand something. One, comparing him to Gronk is completely unfair. One, because Gronk is the greatest tight end to ever play the game. Sorry, Tony Gonzalez. Gronk is the best tight end to ever play the game. Don't at me. And he had the best quarterback to ever play the game. That's a big part of it. That's a real big part of it. Same thing goes with Travis Kelce. He's got the best quarterback in the game right now and has for the last 3 years. Go look at his pre-Patrick Mahomes numbers and go look at his post-Patrick Mahomes numbers, and you'll understand why. Quarterback play has a lot to do with how often a tight end gets the ball. I just mentioned CeeDee Lamb. Well, Dak Prescott, Cooper Rush. Guys, this is obvious stuff. And I don't know why there are radio hosts in this town and writers in this town who are biting this low-hanging fruit about Kyle Pitts' target share. It's ridiculous. You know which tight end has the most targets of any tight end in the league so far this year? Tyler Higbee of the Rams. Why does Tyler Higbee have so many targets so far? Well, it could be because they have Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, and Cam Akers out of the backfield. Yeah, that would leave Higbee open. Why? Because you're doubling down on Kupp. You have a linebacker following Akers, and, Allen Robinson draws the second best corner on the team. So who's left? Now, Mark Andrews has the second most targets at 18. That's a completely unique scenario because the offense is built around that position. He's got 18. You know who's next? Pat Freiermuth. Why is Freiermuth open? Oh, I don't know. Deontay Johnson there. Chase Claypool there. Najee Harris out of the backfield. You see what I'm driving at here, folks? The Falcons don't have any other weapons, period. None. None that any defense cares about. Zero. So they focus all their energy on 8 because they're not going to let 8 beat them, period. And that's a problem. There's only one area with Pitts that you can get upset. Tell you what that is in a minute. First, a word, my friends, from BetOnline.net, your fastest and easiest way to check in on all odds, lines, and games. Your favorite sports and events right there, and all your betting needs at BetOnline.net. You can find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, the NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, which is so much fun. You guys got to try it. Scores and podcasts, they've got you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action that's happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, there is one area that I will allow everybody to be upset about with Kyle Pitts and the targets. And that's that place called the red zone. There is an area where he should absolutely be forced target. Just jump ball the hell out of the guy. Period. Figure it out. I don't need anything fancy. Stack it in tight, have him roll off the line, and get me a jump ball in the corner. That's all I want. That, I think, is fair. That is a complaint you can talk to me about. But all this other stuff, man, you're not paying attention. I mean, heck, a couple other tight ends. Zach Ertz is the only viable target right now in Arizona. He's got 15 targets, 10 catches for 89 yards. You know what that means? All those catches are right at the line of scrimmage. They ain't going down the field. And that's, oh, by the way, one of the things that makes Kyle Pitts so dynamic is his speed and ability to get down the field. Well, guess what? You don't have an offensive line that can block very long, and you have an inaccurate quarterback. These things matter. TJ Hawkinson, one of the best young tight ends in the league, he's got 14 targets. Kyle Pitts has 10. Would 2 more targets a game have changed the outcome to Kyle Pitts? I doubt it. I doubt it. You could look across this league, guys, at the tight end position and how teams are using it. It's very, very specific. It's not like wide receivers. So there's a lot that goes into this, and you really have to look at this thing objectively. Stop biting into that low-hanging fruit that's whining about things that you're not really paying attention to. go a little bit beyond the box score, watch the game a little bit, and understand what is unfolding. As I said, I am the absolute biggest proponent of Kyle Pitts getting more targets than anybody, because he should. But I've watched the first 2 games and have understood what has happened and why it has happened. And that is very important. Before you start screaming at Arthur Smith and complaining about the coaching and everything else, there is a certain amount of understanding of what has happened in the game and how it's unfolded. And oh, by the way, when you're down by 25 points in the third quarter, as I said yesterday, there is no scheme. Get the ball to the open guy as quick as possible, get down the field, and try to score as fast as humanly possible. There is no, oh, well, let's call this play here because I know Kyle can beat his man. Nah, nope. Game script changes. The way you call the game changes. You go to a whole different line on your play sheet. You know that sheet that coaches put up in front of their mouth? There's a section of it that, hey, I need 15 yards. That's where all these plays are. Defense sits back in coverage, fine. I mean, it's that simple. And I'm irritated that fans are not understanding what is going on here. And particularly my colleagues aren't understanding what's going on here. You got to climb a little bit higher on the tree to find the good fruit, folks. The low-hanging fruit, it ain't worth it. All right, coming up next, a very, very misleading stat about the Georgia Bulldogs. Or is it? I'll explain next. On A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast, search Locked On Sports Atlanta.